There is a ton of value in current Underdog Playoff Best Ball ADP. Elite offenses like the Rams are easy to stack. Take advantage of uncertainty and start drafting now. Use the promo code SEEK for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And subscribe to Heat Seeker Sports on YouTube for Underdog strategy and drafting shows. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching the Underdog Playoff Best Ball show. I'm joined today by my friend Dean Shavelson from RotoGrinders fame. Dean and I are going to be taking a look at the current situation with the wild card round, and we'll get some ideas on who Dean thinks is going to advance in these playoffs and potentially make it to the Super Bowl. And then we'll do a draft on top of that, so you guys can see our strategies while we're drafting these Underdog Playoff Best Ball teams. Before we do that, hit the like button. Looking for 15 likes to put out a shorter video a little bit later on. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm looking for about 400 subscribers. I'm at about 370 right now. So I'm 30 short. And I'm sure that Dean's audience will drive home the extra 30 subscribers that I need. Dean, what's going on, brother?
What's up, Simon? Good. Always going to catch up. Yeah, the old almanac bump. Let's get 30. Let's make it happen. Smash the over on 30 likes for sure. Yeah, I may or may not have been I was always I wasn't like anti-best ball, but I just never really partook. And I know people love talking about it on the Twitter and all that, but I finally dove into the best ball territory, the best ball turf this season during the regular season. I'll be the first. The first to come out and say, you know what? I lost. I did not win. I was not a successful best ball. I know you're supposed to take victory laps and only victory laps on best ball. If you're a best ball tout, I don't claim to be a best ball tout, to be clear. This is not something I do content for, but I definitely dabble in now. And I'm enjoying it. But I feel like I've learned, I've already made some best ball teams for Underdog, for drafters, for DraftKings. I may or may not have been drafting best ball teams last night, like 4 o'clock in the morning. You see some weird things going on at 4 o'clock in the morning, by the way. Yeah. CMC dropping to the 3 spot sometimes. It's like, okay, all right, I guess we're doing that. But then, and we'll talk about it, like some teams, they don't stay in their lane. It's like, dude, you already claimed the Cowboys. Stick with the you said that the Cowboys are my team. Well, who are you to think you can't steal Kelsey from me? This flag in the play. But sometimes it works out in your favor, sometimes it doesn't when people just kind of go rogue when it comes to drafting. But yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I've already knocked out a bunch of playoff stuff as well. And I've been learning as I go. I probably have some dead teams already out there. I definitely have some dead teams already out there because I'm sure I have some Jags. Turns out they're not going to be getting any points. But, yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to talking about it. Looking forward to super wild card weekends. 6-gamer. It should be fun all the way up to Monday. And, yeah, let's talk about it. And, I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, for sure. And, I got lucky. I kind of got lucky in the weeks leading up into the wild card or the week 18 matchups where they decided the wild card round matchups, because I've been drafting heavy on a lot of these teams that ended up advancing in week 18, like the Bills and the Rams and guys like that are skyrocketing in ADP right now. And so it's been fun, like drafting these. A lot of the times on these freaking shows, though, man, when you draft in the afternoon, it's like you talked about, like you're dealing with your guys getting poached and sniped and whatever you want to call it. And it makes it tough to try to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish in these drafts. And the general idea of these drafts, for those of you who are new to playoff best ball, you're basically fielding a team of a quarterback, a running back, 2 wide receiver tight ends, and a flex position. And you want to make a team of that combo of players all the way to the Super Bowl, basically. So you want to try to commit to, like an NFC team and an AFC team combo that you think can make it to the Super Bowl and fill all those positional needs. Or you could do an entire team, an entire AFC team, or an entire NFC team. Your basic goal, though, is to get that combination of players, a quarterback, running back, 2 wide receiver, tight ends, and a flex position to the Super Bowl, because that's going to set you up to be live in the Super Bowl with a full team to potentially make a decent amount of money. My first year playing this a couple years back, I ended up getting a team, a bunch of full teams to the Super Bowl because I was projecting the Bengals versus the 49ers. And I also had, like some Rams sprinkled in there too. The Rams and the Bengals ended up making it to the Super Bowl. And since they were such great values that year, because nobody was really thinking the Bengals were going to make it to the Super Bowl, that they were pretty easy to draft. And a team that is pretty easy to draft that nobody expects to get in the Super Bowl, if you're going heavy on a team like that, you can be in really good shape by the time the Super Bowl comes around. And when I'm talking to Dean here, we'll try and target a few of those teams that maybe we think could go far in these playoffs, potentially the Super Bowl, and give us a great value and set us up nicely with fully stacked teams heading into that Super Bowl. Before we get into that breakdown, make sure to subscribe or set up an Underdog account, sign up for an Underdog account, use the promo code SEEK, SEEK, and they're going to hook you up with a $100 match up to $100 on your first deposit. So make sure to use that promo code and sign up because this is a really fun game to play. If you check out my YouTube page, I've done a bunch of these shows. In a bonus, I will send you my rankings for playoff Underdog Best Ball. Hit me up with a direct message on Twitter at Pumacom when you sign up, and I'll hook you up with my rankings. So you'll get the $100 match, and then you'll get my rankings on top of that. But Dean, let's jump into kind of breaking down this playoff picture here. We're looking at a wild card round. We got the Steelers who snuck into the playoffs. They're facing off against the Bills. We got the Miami Dolphins, number 6 seed versus number 3 seed Kansas City. And we got the number 5 seed Cleveland Browns versus the number 4 seed Houston Texans. I made a bet on the Texans early in the season to win the division, and it paid off at the very last minute with the Jacksonville Jaguars choking in that playoff game. And on the NFC side, we got the Green Bay Packers at number 7 versus number 2 Dallas. We got number 6 Rams versus the number 3 Lions, and then we got the number 5 Eagles versus the number 4 Bucks. So, Dean, if we're looking at these matchups, I'm going to pull up the odds that we got here. According to FanDuel, Cleveland versus Houston, we're looking at a 44.5 point total with Cleveland as 2.5 point favorites. They're playing in Houston in a dome, which is going to be important for week 1. Dean, why don't you get into what you think on this matchup?
Yeah, so, we talked about this before the show started. It's like, I don't really have these hot takes of like, this team is going to definitely win. This team is going to definitely lose. It's just your lineup is telling a story. You're telling a story with the lineup. And once you're sort of committed to a certain team, well, this lineup is going to tell. If I've already drafted, like say I start off by drafting Josh Allen and Steph Diggs. Now I'm married to the Bills. So now I want to cook. If I can get some more Bills going forward, like you said, ideally you want to have 5 live players in the Super Bowl at least, if you can sort of make that work. We also talked about, like, depending on what site you're shopping on, Underdog makes it pretty tricky because you only have 10 rounds. Like on DK, I think it's 12, and on Drafters it's 12 as well. And I guess it's the challenge is what makes it fun. It's definitely tricky. And then of course, the wrinkle, and we don't have San Francisco picture, we don't have Baltimore picture, but the wrinkle of like, hey, these teams are probably most likely to get to the Super Bowl, but they're also going to get you 0 points in the first round. And like, how do I go about drafting those guys? And like, what if I get 3 or 4 Ravens, which I've done, but it's like, well, how do I get past round 1? And maybe we'll get there and we're drafting live and we'll have that conundrum because it's an interesting pickle. But yeah, I don't really have any sort of like, this team is going to win for sure. I certainly have leans. I have thoughts. Cleveland, Houston, you mentioned, but like, shout out to you for picking Houston to win the division. What kind of odds did you get at the start of the season? I know nobody was really touting the Texans or Stroud. Not that I recall.
Got him at plus 500.
Nicely done.
I thought I bet a lot of. I thought I bet a decent amount. Yeah, I only bet $25 on it. I thought I bet a lot more than that.
Hey, whatever it is, money's money. I'll take it.
Yeah.
My lean in that game is Cleveland. I just think the difference in this game is going to be Cleveland's defense. But I'm not averse to selecting Texans. You can get Collins really, really late, as far as receivers. The matchup round one, probably not perfect, but I do like him. There's a chance. I guess, is there any chance they would host a round two game or no? I guess not, right? Unlikely. Because, I guess they would not host. Unless Pittsburgh and Miami won or something like that. Yeah, it's their only chance to host
Pittsburgh and Miami to win, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, my thought is that Cleveland wins this game. But again, it's not very strong. I give a slight edge to Cleveland. I like picking Cooper. I think Cooper is a really good play, and I think there's a decent chance you get 2 games out of Cleveland. You can get Flacco whenever you want. You want to get him in the last round, basically, you can get Flacco. Nobody's really taking him, and we know how pass heavy they've been. Ever since he's been installed as their quarterback, it's the wildest thing. Like, if you'd have told anybody at the start of the season that Flacco would be like a top 10 NFL quarterback, and it says a lot about the rest of the league for sure, but it's kind of shocking what Flacco has become and just the way this offense has functioned. And do you remember when Nick Chubb got hurt? Remember he was on this team? How long ago does that feel? Forever ago, right?
God, man, it feels like an eternity.
Yeah, like the NFL season's short, but then it's like, oh wait, that happened this year? Really? That was this year? It was. So, but my lean is Cleveland, but again, it's not that strong. Do you have a take on this?
I'm kind of with you. I'm on Cleveland as well. I'm drafting both of these teams though, because I think that it might be something like a 65-35, like lean towards Cleveland. But I want to have exposure to those Texans because we've seen what this offense can do. It's a high-powered offense. It's led by a rookie quarterback, obviously, who has an ability to elevate the players around him. You can see that what he's done for Nico Collins, Noah Brown, Tank Dell before Tank Dell got hurt, and Dalton Schultz. So I think that it's a quarterback with an ability to elevate the guys around him. And they're a team that's super pass heavy. Stroud doesn't do a ton of rushing, so all his fantasy points come off of passing, basically. So he's like this freak like passer, and he gets these monster games out of his receivers on top of it. So I do like the fantasy aspects of Houston, but I think, like you, that the defense on the Cleveland side is going to be the differentiator in this matchup. We saw these teams actually play against each other earlier in the season, and this is the team where this is a game where Amari Cooper went off for like 50 DraftKings points on top of it, but Stroud was not in that game, so we didn't see any pushback from the Texans in that game. But the Browns had a really nice game against Houston, and I think that they have an ability to take this one.
11 catches, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns for Cooper. Yeah, he was incredible that day. I remember it because in DFS, I remember I stacked Flacco in several lineups. I did not double stack him. I played him with I think Njoku, and I played him with Moore. I did not play him with Cooper. So bad job by me. But yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah, same here. I did a show that week, and I was pushing the Flacco to Njoku stacks, and I lightly mentioned Cooper, but I was not anywhere near as heavy as I should have been on Cooper that week.
Yeah, that was actually his last game he played, right? He rested, or was he injured?
Was that his last game that he played? Yeah,
that's what I'm seeing. Yeah, the last game he played was 12-24. Yeah. Did not play against the Jets. Did not play against Cincinnati.
Just got an alert that he is not practicing today either. So his heel is still bothering him, which isn't good. I think he'll be ready by the time the game starts. But that's definitely something that you want to kind of dig a little deeper into, like that injury status, before you go too heavy on drafting him.
Yeah,
Tuesday. If you think that they can make it out around. Yeah. We
don't freak out about it's good to know. It's good to know. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good, man. Yeah.
But they're even saying on the Underdog note they're saying rest/heal. Friday is the big deal, right? As far as practicing, like if you're limited, if you're not practicing on Friday, then there's kind of a concern. But Tuesday, especially this time of year, right? Long season, players are beat up. I wonder about, and I guess we'll kind of delve into it, but like Gabe Davis, they're saying it's not that serious. Laporta,
Yeah.
it seems unlikely he goes, and if he goes, probably limited.
Right.
I mean, this is not a second guess, but like, and this is not like a hot take, but Laporta playing in that game from the start. Dan Campbell, like, you know, you could be football guy. You could be football guy, and you could also be like rational, intelligent, like math guy. You could be the same guy. You could be both. You don't have to choose.
Yeah.
And he just has to be football guy and playing his guys in a meaningless game, you know, whatever, basically meaningless. I know there was like a 3% chance that both Philadelphia and Dallas would lose when Dallas is monster favorite versus Washington, but, you know, just really, really silly with Detroit. It's unfortunate with the injury to Laporta, but I guess Smith too, right, for Philadelphia. We're not really sure about him. Waddle for Miami. There's a lot of injuries out there that are kind of up in the air as of a Tuesday, and we'll see. I guess we'll probably get some more clarity as the week progresses, but you know, right. And I guess that also is reflected in their draft status. AJ Brown, I guess, is another guy too, right? Who's you can get him much later, and I think he's going to play, but what do I know? I assume he's going to play, and you never really know if these guys play, how limited they are, you know, that kind of thing. But you know, I didn't mean to derail us into a whole injury thing, but it just kind of sparked that thought in my head. There's a lot of guys that are up in the air. These are staring at names. It's like, well, I think he's going to play, but we'll see. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, definitely important to cover, because I mean, we got another injury on the defense of the Steelers with TJ Watt has been announced as out for the wild card round. So they're going to be playing in Buffalo. Dean, you were talking about weather concerns before the show. Why don't you break down what you think on this Pittsburgh at Buffalo game here?
Yeah, I don't like, as a general rule, I think people tend to overreact to weather. Not saying it doesn't matter, but like, I think absolutely people tend to overreact to it. And on a Tuesday, and again, you know, weather is fluid, it's fickle. This stuff will change. But Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth here at RotoGrinders, he has this game as orange. I'll read his report. Orange, by the way, is just red is the worst. Orange is just scary too. Cold, windy, potentially some snow as well. Temperatures in the 20s, sustained winds around 15 miles per hour, gusts around 30 as far as Buffalo. And the other thing is, you know, if you want another signal, Vegas. This game opened as a 43 total, right? Now it's currently 36.5. We're talking about, I went to UCF, so pardon my math. 6.5. That's a 6.5 point plummet. You know, there are some teams that are going to lose. They're going to lose round one, and they're still going to give you some players that give you like usable stats. I think Detroit and the Rams will talk about that game should potentially shoot out, and whichever team doesn't move on, I think you're still going to get some usable stuff, you know, to help you get to round two. But there's a chance that Pittsburgh is just I don't want to say worthless, but kind of worthless. You know, I think there's a chance like nobody on Pittsburgh is like anybody you actually want. Now, if everybody's thinking that way, game theory wise, like what if Pittsburgh, even if they don't like, they're not great this game, but if they move on, just moving on, advancing, certainly they can. It's not likely, but it's possible. And most people don't have that path. Like you can get that path really, really easily if you want to. And if you're drafting a bunch, like it wouldn't be the first draft I would do. It's like, let's get a bunch of Steelers. But, you know, if you want to get frisky on your 40th draft, have at least one, you know, in your portfolio. I don't think it's the craziest thing. But yeah, this certainly to me feels like a 20-6 kind of game. It just feels ugly. And that Pittsburgh offense with Rudolph is just inept as is. Like if it was in a dome in like perfect conditions, it's like, dude, I don't trust Mason Rudolph anywhere, let alone the snow and the wind and the gust and all that. So I know this Bills defense is rough. Like every single level they've lost somebody important. You know, the D line, the linebackers, the secondary, but it's the Steelers offense, man. It's just not. I'm having a hard time drafting them. I'll tell you. I'll leave it at that. And I think there's other teams that like you can see real upside from that are also going really late, and we'll talk about it. So I'm mostly off on Pittsburgh. I think Buffalo moves on. I don't really love the upside for Allen and Diggs. You certainly can draft Allen and Diggs. I have been. But this also feels like, hey, you're probably getting at least 2 games out of Buffalo, which that's usable as well. So do you see it another way as far as Pittsburgh and Buffalo? This feels like just it's going to be a pretty ugly game. And I don't think that Allen's going to be fully pushed. I really like James Cook. I think James Cook is an awesome pick. One of my favorite running backs on the entire board. What do you have it as far as Pittsburgh and Buffalo?
When I think of weather and Buffalo, I think back to that playoff game, the Bills versus the Patriots in the first round of the playoffs a couple years ago, and the Bills just absolutely came out and stomped the Patriots. I think that was kind of a revenge game for the Bills because that was the same year that they had that win game. But I think that Buffalo is definitely capable, like of coming out and putting up points despite the weather elements. I don't think that Pittsburgh is equipped to answer to it. And I think if they did try to answer to it, then they would just get destroyed. Like I just think that like without TJ Watt in this game, Buffalo has a much easier path to winning, and they might just decide to, it could be one of those games where they just decide to put up points. So, I definitely respect the Vegas side on 36.5 points. I do think though that it could be, like a 33 or 34-3 type of game. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do like Buffalo just a lot in general. I've been drafting them a ton. Like these last couple of weeks, we're getting like the Allen to Diggs stacks in rounds like 2 and 3 a couple of weeks ago, and now like Allen's going top 3 picks.
You got to go 1-2, right?
Now that
first round, second round, you can get them. You can get it in the turn sometimes. Sometimes you'll get it in like the 6-7, right? But I pull up that box score 47-17. That was Mac Jones versus Josh Allen. Is that what you're thinking of a couple of years ago, 2022, I believe? Is that right for you?
Yep. Yep. And
if you're going to tell the Pittsburgh story, like you got to think that Pittsburgh's game plan is Harris, Warren, maybe some Warren, Harris, 10-minute drive, right? Just keep the ball out of the hands of Buffalo. And will that work? Maybe. I don't know. Until if you get behind, then you're in trouble. But they're just going to want to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball, I assume.
Right. And I think that works for a quarter. But then I think, once the Bills start to get that 14-point lead, and then they just kind of build on that, Pittsburgh's going to stick to that game plan, I think, for a decent amount of this game. But then they'll try to, launch it to Pickens. But I think Buffalo will probably be able to handle that too. Let's check and see what the matchup looks like here. Buffalo is allowing only this is DraftKings. I don't have like the scoring for Underdog, but DraftKings points allowed to wideouts. Buffalo's only allowing 11 DraftKings points, so that's even going to be even less with Underdog because you're not doing PPR. So that gives you an idea of how good they've been against wideouts, despite losing Tre'Davious early in the season. So, they're still very, very good in the secondary. They're only allowing 18.2 DraftKings points a game to the slot. Those are among the worst in the league as far as a matchup for their opponents. So Buffalo is really good in the secondary, and they're really good at defending the run too. There's a thing with Buffalo, like they're good at preventing yards before contact, but then after contact, they were a little bit more vulnerable, but I think they've even shored that up. But they're only allowing 20 DraftKings points a game to the running back position, which is also very good from a defensive standpoint.
Look at you with your hand in the dirt, man. I don't get my hands in the dirt like that. So fully digging in. I did not have those stats on the ready, but yeah, that's interesting to note going forward. So our AFC picture is getting clearer. We got Buffalo, we have Cleveland, and now we got to knock out Miami and Kansas City.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts here? Another potential weather game.
Yeah. Again, I will yield to Roth. Again, I'll remind the people this is like still 5 days out, but he has this game as orange. Absolutely frigid. I'm just reading what Roth says here at RG. Actual temp should be around 10 degrees at kickoff, closer to 0 by end of game. 10 to 15 mile per hour wind will put feels like temperatures well below 0 degrees. Temperature generally isn't a big concern for the game, but extreme cold is impactful, especially when adding in some wind to go along with it. Also, we'll just add, like, if you're living in Miami, extreme. I live in South Florida, and it gets 50 degrees and people start bundling up. We overreact, and obviously these guys, a lot of them are from different parts of the country for sure, but they have been living down here in South Florida as Dolphins. And, it's a bit of a shock probably to jump into 0-degree weather. I probably not ideal. I know Tyreek used to play in Kansas City, and so he's aware of it. But I love McDaniel. I think he's going to try his best to figure something out here, scheme wise. The Dolphins are so many injuries, especially offensively too. Like their skill guys, Waddle, we don't know. Mostert, we don't know. I assume they're going to play. I don't know if they're going to be 100% or not. Their defense is just every single week they're losing somebody important. Their defense was much better early in the year. Now it feels pretty vulnerable. And I know Kansas City's offense has been, I don't want to say inept, but disappointing. Maybe it has been kind of inept outside of Mahomes. Kelsey certainly looks every bit of 34 years old, just not the elite tight end he once was. He's not bad, but he's just, the level that he, sustained for so long. He's no longer that guy. Rice is certainly elevated to be like, a number one receiver or on his path, but like beyond that, the receivers, it's like I don't remember do you remember the old reality TV show? I think they relaunched it on Netflix. Remember The Mole? Remember that show, The Mole?
I remember hearing, I never watched it, but I do remember. Yeah.
It's pretty fun, actually. I'm not a big reality guy, but basically one person in the group is actively, working against the group and like, trying to make them lose without, it's not like known that you don't know who the mole is, but like it could be Justin Watson. It could be Kadarius Toney. It could be MVS. Any one of these guys could be the mole. Mecole Hardman. They're all actively rooting for Kansas City not to succeed is the point. Be it intentionally or unintentionally. I don't know who the mole is, but somebody's the mole on that Kansas City wide receiver core. It's Netflix relaunched it. It's a pretty fun show. Many years ago, like Anderson Cooper hosted it on ABC or something like that. But now, I can't remember the woman's name. Another newswoman is doing it. But check it out. I'm not just you come here for the best ball takes, but if you want a reality show that you've never heard of, feel free to give the mole a shot. It's pretty fun. Anyways. I think Kansas City wins this game, and it's kind of shocking to me, and I get it too. But isn't it weird? Like if I told you like a month or two ago, Miami's playing Kansas City. Actually, they did, right? That was in London or something. Maybe it was Germany. I was like, the total for that game is 44.
Germany.
Yeah, 44. Just it feels so low for a Miami Kansas City offense. Those two offenses, but it also, the temperature is not going to be spectacular. The weather is not going to be spectacular. This is another one that's dropped as the week has progressed. I think it opened at 47.5. Now it's down to 44. It feels like it should be a shootout, but I don't know if it's going to be. I think Kansas City gets away with it, though. I just, Miami's a little bit too beat up, is this sort of my thought. And I much prefer them at home. If they won the division, they would have played at home versus, I think they would have played Buffalo at home, actually. I think they would have played Buffalo again. I think that's how it would have lined up. But, I got KC moving on. How about yourself? I guess, am I giving all chalky answers? I am, but that's where I'm at.
I don't think necessarily, because I think there's still a debate between Miami and KC. Like Miami was one play away or whatever from being the number 2 seed. So I mean they're kind of a 2 seed disguised as a 6 seed in this situation.
Yeah.
But I think with Miami too, like early in the season when their defense was not firing on all cylinders, like these Vic Fangio defenses take a while to kick in. And they started to kick in maybe mid-season when everybody started to understand how the system worked. And they talked about this a little bit on Hard Knocks too. There was a scene where their defensive players were kind of talking about that. But once it kicks in, like they get really good. And I think when they started to get really good on defense, their offense wasn't needed as much to put up those lofty point totals. And so like the offense kind of, started putting on the brakes a bit. But now we're in a situation where we just lost Bradley Chubb on the Dolphins. And they've already lost another edge rusher, the rookie. I can't remember what his name is. Jalen Phillips, I believe. So they've lost 2 of their edge rushers. And now they're playing against Kansas City, like a team with no wide receivers. So it's going to be the corners of the Dolphins. You got Jalen Ramsey and you got Xavier Howard versus like this freaking like scrap heap of wide receivers that Kansas City has and old man Kelsey, so I just don't know if Kansas City has the offensive firepower to handle even a banged up Miami defense, considering they still have their secondary. But on top of that, like on the Miami side, I don't know if you remember last year, but there was a lot of talk about I think it was Tua, like how he handles cold weather. He's not very good in cold weather. And he was going to play a game with no sleeves or something. And like, everyone's like, no, don't do it. In a cold game. I can't remember what exactly it was, but yeah, like Tua, I think he's going to, probably struggle in this game because he's not good under pressure. And that's what Kansas City's been good at this year. But I think the running game of the Dolphins is going to be the key of this matchup, because that's where Kansas City has been giving up the most, at least DraftKings points. They've been giving up 25 DraftKings points a game, which is among the most in the league. And there's really no main weak spot of that Miami defense that Kansas City is going to be able to necessarily exploit, I don't think. So I think that like Miami might have an edge with that running game. And I think that edge in the running game is what would be the reason why Miami beats Kansas City if they win this game.
I wonder how much they'd be willing to push Achane in a must-win game. Like, he's not a guy that's going to like get 20, 25 plus touches or so. He's not going to bang between the tackles a ton, but like he's so electric and just so skilled. Like when he gets the ball in his hands, good things certainly can happen. I wonder like if they would sort of like bump that up. And
I think they're going to unleash him.
Yeah. What's that?
I think they'll unleash him against Kansas City. I think they're going to go all in on this running game.
You said you watched the Hard Knocks. Have you fallen in love with Mike McDaniel much like I have? Like is he not like he's just such a breath of fresh air? I know it's like a cliche, but like he's like the anti-football guy, right?
Yeah.
He's just sort of just like a dude. He knows his stuff, obviously. He's super sharp, but he doesn't have to be like football guy, like biting kneecaps 24/7. I just I don't know. I find him to be a lot of fun. Are you a fan of McDaniel, or is that just me?
He feels like a .com CEO running a football team, and I really like him. Like I liked him. When I first started seeing those interviews before he became a head coach.
Yes,
and so I was excited about seeing what he would do as a head coach, and like just everything I've seen about him, I like. And yeah, Hard Knocks has kind of made me like him even more. Like I'm just a big fan of him in general.
He doesn't give the cliche stock answer. He actually talks to you like a person. And, I think I saw a clip. Was it McAfee? Maybe it was a McAfee interview or something like that. I'm like, this guy's different. I like this guy. He's he's authentic, whether you like his authenticity or not, but like, he's not like, just like putting up let me give you cliche answer number one, cliche answer number two. Like, and he's kind of stuck to that, right? Like, obviously he's been in the grind, and, I guess you probably slowly mold to that just because you get asked the same questions all the time and maybe you get bored. I don't know. But, I just,
he's
easy
a really
to
good
report.
interview.
I like him.
There was a really good interview with him where someone asked him the Mary fuck kill with 3 of the coaches that he's worked with in the past.
I didn't do that.
and he answered it. Like, it was like, he put like a lot of thought into the answers. And it was like,
I can respect that. Yeah. I'll have to do a Google
funny,
search
man.
when I get off the show.
I just like that dude. Yeah. That's a good one to check out. I can't remember who did that interview, but he sat there, like when he was asked the question, he's like, oh man. And then he put a lot of thought, like, well, I guess I'd have to marry, like Shanahan, we've worked so much together. And he just went into it. It was funny. But if we're moving on to the NFC, we got 2 domed games, and then we got the Tampa Bay game, which is in. What's the weather going to be like in Florida this weekend, Dean?
Not great. Not as bad as the other 2, but not great. Just a chance of rain. Latest models have slowed down the rain a bit, bringing it more so early Tuesday morning than Monday. This game is a Monday game. It is the Monday Night Hammer. But we're still far enough out that I'm just going to leave it as a chance of rain. And clearly, if you haven't figured out by now, when I say this is Roth. I'm just reading on his behalf. I'm regurgitating his article on RotoGrinders. Just says we'll reevaluate as we get closer. But, rain, I generally don't freak out about rain unless it's like a monsoon. Wind is much more drastic as far as affecting the game than rain. Ideally, you want to be in a dome. And like you said, there's 2 dome games, and we're looking at 3 weather games. And I guess there's 3 dome games, right? There's 3 dome games and 3 weather games, different degrees of weather. But yeah, and the dome game that's most interesting, I think, is the biggest total on the board, the Rams and the Lions. And you have some pieces that can really help you, but also this is one of the trickier ones to figure out who's going to win. But I don't know who's going to win in the battle of Stafford going back to Detroit. But I do like the idea of having 3 or 4 Rams on my team or 3 or 4 Lions on my team, and whichever one. Okay, if they lose, I have a bunch of Rams. Guess what? My team's dead. That's all right. That's fine. My team's gonna be dead anyway. No matter what happens, my team's gonna be dead. So I'm shooting for upside and shooting for the top. But I like the idea of 3 or 4 of my guys moving on from that game, and not just moving on, but pretty condensed offenses, really, really clear as far as the Rams, in the Lions, Amon-Ra. It's the players you want, especially if Laporta is out or limited. You're gonna know the players you want in Detroit as well. Just when you're thinking about building lineups. And I know we talked about Miami. Miami, it's tough because the only tough thing about Miami is there's not 5 guys on Miami you want. Which is good for being concise. You sort of want 1 or 2 run backs on the other side on the NFC. But yeah, I just love both these offenses. I don't know who's winning between the Rams and the Lions. It should be a fun game. Should be the biggest shootout of the weekend, over 50 total. But I want pieces. I want pieces. I think we're gonna have big DFS scores and big fantasy scores, and that's why. And we'll get to it. And if we're in the predicament with the draft, it's oh man, I don't have anybody on the Rams. I'm probably not gonna have any sort of Ram stack, but I can get Cooper Kupp right here. And I'm not building a Ram stack, but he probably is somebody that can help me get the round 2. And is that useful enough to draft him as opposed to drafting my 4th player that's clearly not as good, that's clearly much less likely to help me move on from round 1. But if I don't draft Kupp and I draft, I don't know, Odell Beckham, because I need a 4th, a Raven or something like that, well, I'm not getting the round 2. So the chances of me getting the round 2 are diminished. So it's the tricky conundrum that I keep and you have 7 seconds to figure all this out, which is fun. Yeah. 30, I guess, but and we'll get to that. But it's kind of challenging and difficult, and I'm still learning and figuring out what the best paths are. And every draft is different. Every predicament is different. But I'm curious to hear when we get to a draft how you're going to handle such situations.
With me, I've been stacking the Rams heavy because I think the Rams could potentially make it to the Super Bowl. I think that they're probably looking at this group of teams. I think the Rams are the biggest threat to San Francisco because obviously they're division opponents, and I always like to target underdogs in those division games. But also, the Rams finally got a win over the 49ers recently. But I just think that if anyone is going to be able to knock off the 49ers, it's going to have to be the Rams. Because I think Dallas is going to choke when they have a chance to play them. I think the Eagles, they're not going to be strong enough to beat San Francisco this year. And Detroit, I think they just have a massive coaching edge over Detroit, although I do like Dan Campbell. So I just think that the Rams are best positioned to potentially beat San Francisco. And I think they get past Detroit first because I think they have a coaching edge here too. I think McVay over Campbell, McVay with his experience. We see it all the time with these playoff teams that they're do really well in the regular season, but then they come to the playoffs with no real playoff experience. That's where the Rams, that's where the Lions are this year. Goff has played in a Super Bowl, But I think beyond that, like it's a bunch of guys with no real playoff experience. So I think that sets up the Rams pretty nicely. And then I think the strategic edge is with the coaching on the Rams too. And I just think that given the equality of these two teams, like their defenses are not great. Their offenses are high powered. They both got good run games. They both have weapons in the passing game. I think I give the edge to Stafford over Goff, and I give the edge to McVay over Campbell in it, though. What do you think? Like for who would you choose to win?
I mean, I like the points. I if nothing else, I'll take the Rams plus 3.5, and I feel like they can like backdoor this, right? If nothing else, they're down by 10 or something like that. I think that they might kick the field goal with that fourth down. You might be in trouble there as far as the backdoor, but I'm taking the points. I'm pretty sure I'm taking the Rams plus 3.5. And like I know people will say these things, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I never like to be like, well, this team just can't beat that team. And I'm not a big believer in the concept of choking. Like I know it happens, but I think a lot of that stuff is like small sample stuff. The idea that the Cowboys are just going to choke. Well, I mean, only one team out of 32 can really has the W, right? So if you want to do it by that math, everybody basically chokes, right? It's just you're all chokers because it's so the chances of you actually winning the whole deal is highly unlikely. So you want to click the Rams. I'm not going to argue against it. I think it's kind of sort of a coin toss. And I've had a lot of fun with the Rams. You can get them pretty late. Kyron's Kyron's the one that goes the earliest. But you can get their offense is super concentrated. Kyron, Puka, Kupp, that's an awesome core to move on with. Now, if they lose round one, whatever. Okay, you lost that. You lost the draft. It's fine. It's okay. Or you might actually move on and just be a dead team. That could happen too, because their offense is so concentrated. That's why you can't really stack that game.
You don't want to stack it if you want to stack a team that's going to advance to the second round. But I think you can use pieces of this. If you're stacking the Rams, you can use pieces of the Lions, use them late. Like Jameson Williams, I think would have a good matchup. He's another injury concern, though. He's another injury concern we got to worry about.
Yeah,
but I think you can take one or two Lions late if you stack the Rams to kind of take advantage of a game stack there. If there's no other better value when you get to those late rounds. But Jameson Williams is a guy that I think has a pretty good matchup against the Rams. You can get him late, but I think in general, with these two teams, you're exactly right. I think they're pretty even. It's basically a coin toss. I just kind of give that edge to the Rams personally. But yeah, I mean, I would get exposure to both teams. I've been heavy on the Rams. I have probably 90% Rams compared to 10% Lions to show how much. And the only reason I'm at that level is because this entire scenario with these three matchups is what I've been projecting in my rankings for the last 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So I've kind of had the NFC nailed. And now that we're in that round, I kind of when I mapped out the NFC into the next round and just saw what the matchups were like if the Rams advance and the potential to face San Francisco, I was just kind of thinking more and more about it. I just think if I'm going to bet on a long shot team, which I want to do in playoff best ball, because I don't want to have the same team that everybody else is going to field in the Super Bowl. I want to have a team like the Rams, heavy exposure to a team like the Rams, who I think could potentially beat San Francisco in a head-to-head matchup. Because I think once you beat San Francisco, then you got a pretty clear path to the Super Bowl. And if the Rams get into the Super Bowl, then I'm going to have a ton of Rams exposure, and I have a ton of full teams with the Rams because they've been so easy to stack. And for a high-powered offense like the Rams to be that easy to stack, we're talking Cooper Kupp, we're talking Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and even Matt Stafford.
Like, it's easy to get all four of those
Matthew
guys.
Stafford.
It's not hard to get all four. If you want all four, you got
it.
Yeah.
Right. And Stafford has been Stafford's been what, like a top 10 fantasy quarterback the last several weeks. So he's heating up at the right time. Like, this whole team is heating up at the right time. And they just backups just beat the San Francisco backup. So they got like that, that little ego boost on top of it, that little confidence boost, even though it was backups. Yeah. But like, still, it's a game that they were competitive in, and it came down to the last play, and freaking Mr. Wentz running that ball in at the last play. Like, I mean, it just shows what Sean McVay can do with a team. You remember that game last year with Baker Mayfield coming in to play for the Rams, coming off the street, not off the street, but off the bench of the Panthers, coming into the Rams and winning a primetime game. So, I mean, he's capable of developing a game plan to beat these tough opponents. So, I do like the Rams as a potential sleeper throughout the playoffs.
Have you played any of those weekly winners? I just started playing the weekly winner stuff, and I think the Rams are a fun team in weekly winners. And like, you could actually stack Detroit, Rams if you want, if you're going after week one. I try to sort of like get myself the most shots at it. So like, I think like, okay, who's going to be in the Super Bowl and kind of work backwards. But like, basically the point is getting the Rams core, and then like they're a lot of fun to pair with like Baltimore, right? Like you get you got a Baltimore stack with the Rams, and like hopefully, I mean, obviously week one you're probably dead, at Baltimore, and they're not playing. But if the Rams move on, I think you're pretty well positioned for week two. If you have a bunch of Baltimore and a bunch of Rams, and of course if they keep on winning, you have some shots. And Tampa's another team, I think, and we'll talk about them in a second, just sort of like where their skill position players are going. White and Evans, Godwin, you can get like, I don't know, the 9th round or something like that. Nobody wants Godwin. Maybe the 10th round.
Yeah.
Mayfield, if you want Mayfield, you can get him in the last pick. If you're making a Tampa stack, nope. He either goes undrafted or in the last round, that kind of thing, is somebody's second quarterback. Is there anything more tilting than somebody drafting like two quarterbacks their first two pick? It's like, what are you doing? Like, what is the plan here? Have you thought about what you're doing, sir or ma'am? I don't want to discriminate. Right. I don't know. What are you doing? What is, like, you're just like clicking buttons. Oh, I've heard of this. Yeah, Lamar, he's good. Oh, Allen, I can get him also. Both these quarterbacks? Man, my team's gonna be good. Have you figured out how the game works?
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't respect my stack I'm trying to build.
There's a lot of that, unfortunately. Yeah, it's tough to. I've been trapped in a couple of these ones that I aired where I just ended up with really, really bad teams because guys that I was targeting like ended up getting scooped up, and I wasn't able to build my stacks. And then you're just scrambling at that point to try to put together something that's going to advance, hopefully.
Yeah. I know there's you got to look at the rules. That's something I've learned as well. I know it sounds really stupid, but drafters, like, they force you to pick a tight end, which I didn't realize until a couple drafts in. And and Underdog, one thing, they kind of combine tight ends and receivers, but the pool of tight ends is it's kind of rough. If Kelsey was what he once was, he'd be like a great, phenomenal, separator pick in theory, but not if Laporta was healthy. But, I have a hard time picking him. Baltimore situation, Mark Andrews might come back. Like, they're talking about him potentially coming back later on in the playoffs. But, those extra spots are precious. I'm more likely to draft him where you get a couple extra spots on drafters, on DraftKings, on Underdog. Do I want to draft the guy who just might play in the Super Bowl if this team makes it? Like, probably not, but nobody else is doing that. Just sort of throwing at that sort of conundrum out there. But I was going with, on Underdog, they just released, was it the Mitten? Now 3 of the first 6 move on, like half the group moves on. Depending on which one you're playing. The Gauntlet, I believe, was 1 of 6, right, as far as advancement. But the new one they just dropped, I think it was the Mitten, and don't quote me on this, is 3 of 6. And then like the weekly winners is nobody gets eliminated. So that's why, it doesn't matter what happens week one, either you win it or you don't, but your team stays the same throughout the entire playoffs. And that's why you want to set yourself up for optimal scenarios. Obviously certainly by the Super Bowl, if you can figure that out and kind of work backwards, but you want to have if you can have 10 live players that are legit, that's the perfect scenario. But just a general concept that I know it's simple, but read the rules, understand the rules. And that also bleeds out of like, maybe don't draft 2 quarterbacks with your first 2 picks.
Yeah, definitely want to read the rules. And that's why I stressed at the beginning of all these shows, the positions that you're going to be getting points for are quarterback, running back, 2 wide receiver tight ends, and then 1 flex position. And that's a team that you want to kind of try to construct that combination of players to make it to the Super Bowl. So you do that, whether it be a matchup of one team that you think will make it to the Super Bowl, or AFC and NFC combination that you think will make it to the Super Bowl. But you're trying to field that entire team and make it through. So you got to think that way when you're doing these drafts. You got to think strategically when you're doing this stuff, even if it's against ADP. ADP is kind of out the window with these drafts, Dean. I don't know what you've been thinking about that.
Yeah, well, especially once you have your path determined, like, okay, now I'm building a Baltimore stack. I'm building, a Bills stack. Just get your Bills. Now, certainly within reason, like you don't have to draft Dalton Kincaid, 15th overall. You can start another stack if Amon Ra for whatever reason drops to the 15, like take Amon Ra. But understand, you don't if you're just clicking down ADP, like that's a terrible idea to draft.
Yeah,
do not do that. It's just that's not how this how this works.
Now it's more of a guideline. Yeah, it's more of a guideline than anything else.
Yes,
is ADP. Yeah, and you use that to kind of figure out which round you want to draft which player, because you want to try to draft, like if you've got a really good stack going on, then you probably want to draft, like your next member of that stack. Maybe you draft them around early or something like that. But you don't want to. You want to be careful that you're not pushing it if you got a good stack going on.
Yeah. So another little helpful thing I'll just throw out there, like say you happen to draft with your first pick, and Debo is probably a bad example because the Niners go so fast. It's really hard to build a Niners stack. I'm sure you've noticed that as well too. You can maybe get 3 pieces if you're lucky, maybe, but it's unlikely. CMC, like sometimes you get CMC, you can get Purdy, and you can get Kittle. I guess you can do that, like with 1, 13, 14. I guess you can do that's something you can do. But whatever. Let's just make that the point. So say your number 1 pick is Diggs or Allen or Lamb. Your number 1 pick is Lamb. Just type in Cowboys or Dallas, and then like the next 7 or 8 Cowboys, just throw them all in your queue. Now I have all the Cowboys there. I'm staring at them all. It's like now I know, like, if you draft Lamb, you probably want to build around him. You probably want to get Dak. You probably want to get Pollard if you can get Pollard. If you have him a la carte, it doesn't work out, so be it. Like, these things will blow up in your face sometimes. It's not the worst thing in the world. Be stuck with like a la carte CeeDee Lamb, but that's sort of what you're saying. If you're picking Lamb, like, okay, I'm going to build a Dallas stack and just throw him in your queue, and like you'll see him right there, and you'll figure out like when you're supposed to draft him. If I need to draft right now, so especially if you're multi-drafting, if you're drafting more than one, it's just easy to figure out the path, anticipate. Because if you're trying to figure it all out in 30 seconds, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're on the clock.
Yeah, good call by Dean there. So Dean, looking at this, the Eagles Bucks game we were talking about earlier, you mentioned that you have some exposure to the Bucks, but what do you think ultimately happens with this game? Who do you think wins this game?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know, man. The Eagles have lost 5 of 6. I know they had like a really, really tough schedule. They've lost to some good teams. They beat some good teams too. They beat the Cowboys. They beat like 2 or 3 good teams before they went in this losing streak as well. I don't know. And if anybody tells you with like full confidence that like the Eagles are going to win or the Eagles are going to lose, I don't believe them. Like they're guessing. And I know you're supposed to guess, right? But like I will guess at my lineups. I will make Tampa stacks. And, when I was drafting and before week 18 went down, it was tough. AJ Brown was like a late first rounder, a second rounder. You pair him with Hurts. You get Hurts and Brown in the first and second round. Oh, this is fun. Okay, this is a lot of ceiling. Now you can get them like in the fourth and fifth round, something like that, right? Like they just fall.
Yep.
Smith, people are scared of as far as his injury, so you can get yourself a Philly stack really easily. Now, could it flop? Of course, but everything can flop. So they have a ton of ceiling, and we Hurts has been one of the best quarterbacks fantasy wise all season long. He's dealing with the finger, he's dealing with the overall whatever is going on in Philadelphia. So I don't know who's winning this game, but I love the idea of getting a Philly stack or a Tampa stack when you look at when you can get them. Like they go pretty late, and there is some upsides. Like so, the Rams, Tampa, Philadelphia, like those are three of my favorites. I like Detroit too, but just the way you're getting the Rams versus the way you're getting Detroit is easier. That's why I'm leaning Rams. Right. So yeah, I don't have a strong lean, but I think you're supposed to get pieces here. Build some stacks out of both these teams.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Dean. I think you can get the Bucks basically in the last 3 rounds. You could stack Evans, White, and Baker if you wanted to, or Godwin. And then the Eagles, like mid rounds, you can build those Eagles stacks. And I've been doing that actually a lot lately because it's a situation where we're talking about AJ Brown, one of the highest scoring wide receivers in fantasy. We're talking about Jalen Hurts, one of the highest scoring quarterbacks. And then on top of that, like Goddard is going to be set up for a good matchup in that first week. And then Devontae Smith is also set up for a good matchup if he plays. So like the Eagles are set up with a pretty nice matchup. Like this game in general on both sides should shoot out because the Eagles defense sucks. The Bucks are vulnerable. So, I mean, it's two offenses with offensive weapons facing off against bad defenses. I see this total is at 43.5. And you mentioned what were you saying about there might be some rain concerns?
Yeah, I mean this is Monday night and not ready to flip out just yet,
Yeah.
and it's nothing too scary. And again, rain is not that big a deal unless it's like a monsoon. Wind is more the issue when it comes to scoring points, having an efficient offense, and all that. But just keep an eye on it. There's 3 dome games. There's 3 games that are outside.
Yeah.
This is as of right now the one that has the least concerns for me. The least concerns for Kevin Roth.
Yeah.
So okay. I don't really care about it. Basically, I'm not really concerned.
Gotcha. So if you have to pick one of these teams, who are you picking, Dean?
Well, when you consider where you can get them, I'm getting more Tampa than Philly because, like you said, you can get Evans really late. You can get White really late. I think both those guys can really help you in week 1. There's like a 50-50 chance they move on to week 2. And that's that. But yeah, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. I'm just my apologies. In my ear, the earbud is like out of nowhere.
Oh yeah,
it'll really jolt you. It's like, oh man, that does nobody text these days? Yeah, so just the way you get them, just the way the pieces kind of fall. I'm getting more Tampa. Now, I'm not saying you can't get Philly. Like certainly Hurts and Brown and Smith and Swift. Goddard, you can roll 5 deep into the Super Bowl if they make a run.
Yeah.
And that's you're live. And especially if another player or two on the other side in the AFC. So yeah, and you don't have to draft them first round necessarily. I'm pulling up my stuff I guess we'll talk about it when we get to the draft, but like it's interesting to see what the difference that we can make, how players sort of like have fallen. Tyreek Hill, another guy who's fallen, just kind of fallen in drafts. He was somebody that was what 3rd, 2nd, 4th overall pick. And now you can get him, we'll see, 2nd, 3rd round, depending on.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Let's go ahead.
Oh, moving on to the Green Bay game, because I'm with you on that. Like I lean the Eagles, but I'm interested in seeing what the path is if we choose the Bucks here. But as far as Green Bay and Dallas, We're talking about Dallas playing at home. They've been good at home all season. They've been best against bad teams, and Green Bay is a good team. So they're playing at home against a good team. All those lofty scores that you've seen Dallas score have come against weak opponents. They've been a team that bullies their weak opponents. But when they're faced against decent opponents, like they do a lot worse. But what do you think here when you got Green Bay? Green Bay's probably, apart from, maybe the Rams, they're probably the hottest team as far as momentum in the NFL right now. So what do you think of Green Bay versus Dallas here?
Yeah, the Packers are kind of an enigma, right? Because they seem to have a lot of young talent. The receiving core, I don't really know how good they're going to be, but like they certainly flash potential, and they're young. Reed, Watson, Dobbs, Wicks out of nowhere. I don't know if Bill Belton's any good, but he's had some good moments. And Jordan Love seems to have taken steps forward this year. He looks to be ascending. The entire offense is pretty appealing. And I don't know. The problem is they're probably supposed to lose here. They are supposed to lose here. They're over a 7-point dog. And do I think they're going to move on? Probably not. But can they? Sure. I don't really know which receivers to isolate. I guess Reed is the best to isolate. Watson, we're not sure about his injury, right? He didn't play last week, if I'm not mistaken, right? He missed last week's game? Yeah. Going into the season, he was the one that had the most hype. But Reed looks like he could be special. He's dealt with injuries on and off too, but I guess he's fine right now. I don't know how to draft the Packers is kind of what I'm getting at, but you can certainly get them late. And the interesting one for me is, and I kind of addressed this earlier, especially if you have like Niners and you have Ravens, it's like, oh man, I don't know how I'm getting past week 1. But you can get Aaron Jones like in the 9th pick overall. And it's like, he should be a good running back. He should be good week 1. Now, is he playing week 2? Maybe, but probably not. And I don't really like picking a guy that like this guy's just going to be like a sacrificial lamb. And, he's going to make the sacrifice week 1. He's going to be gone. But that's how we get to week 2. And one of the ways we get to week 2. But I've done that with some Aaron Jones. I don't think I've drafted Love yet, which might be a mistake. And I also think you're kind of thinking about, everybody's doing the same thing. We're all kind of like playing this out. And if it happens to be, San Fran, Baltimore, all the pieces will be owned, right? Everybody's going to be owned. But the Packers, if they happen to make it to the Super Bowl, there's going to be less people you're fighting with if you happen to have some Packers stuff, because not a lot of people said, hey, you know who I'm going to stack? I'm going to roll with 5 Packers. Like nobody's doing that. Like somebody's doing that, but you know what I mean? Like relative to everybody else. Yeah. So it's a kind of a conundrum. And I have yet to say this is the draft where I'm just going to play 5 Packers. And I know there's a very high chance that this team dies. But if we get the path where the Packers beat the Cowboys, who are known chokers, I'm told, and I think there's so much parity in the league. I know that the Niners and Baltimore looked at the best 2 teams, but to me, beyond that, it's like 20 of these teams are basically the same. They're all kind of sort of basically the same, different degrees of fine, but you can poke holes in mostly everything. And there's like 6 or 7 really, really bad teams, right? But like there's like 15 to 20 teams that are kind of the same, more or less. You're telling me that Pittsburgh's better than the Bengals or the Jags? No, I don't think maybe incrementally, but they're all sort of the same. So yeah, it's an interesting thought. I'm curious if you've drafted Packers, and you're probably supposed to if you're a game theory guy. If you're playing, my DFS brain, my DFS tournament brain is telling me that Packers are probably sharp because nobody's doing it. Yeah. Now again, your lineup probably dies, but you're inevitably, no matter what, your lineup's going to die. So if you want to be ambitious, you want to shoot for the top and battle it out with less people in a hypothetical Green Bay Super Bowl, then the Packers are yours, and you can get them pretty cheap. So they're interesting.
Yeah, I think you got it on point. Like they're good guys to draft as those sacrificial lamb type guys if you got those first round buys. But look, the total of this game is the second highest total on the slate. We're looking at 50.5 points, 50.5. And Packers are 7.5-point dogs, but this is a game like the Packers are one of those teams like where they've been in these matchups where you think that they're going to lose this game, and then they end up pulling it out because, like you said, like they got like all these young weapons on the team, so they're a team that's kind of playing with nothing to lose. They're playing with the house's money right now, and I could see they're not going to come out with a conservative game plan. They're going to come out here to beat Dallas, and we've seen it with Jordan Love. He has an ability as a passer, and he's faced some tough defenses in the year. Like he's basically every time you count these guys out, they deliver. They end up coming through and winning or at least putting up a fantasy relevant performance. So I do like Green Bay. Kind of like I think Dallas is going to win this game, but I do like the idea of stacking like a few teams with Green Bay stacks because, like you said, like nobody's going to have it, and it's a team with like huge upside if they end up winning. So yeah, and we're not going to have to worry about any games in Green Bay either. Like so, we're talking about the remaining teams. You got like the Dome in LA. You got the Dome in Detroit. If the Eagles make it, like that would be the only concern if we get an Eagles versus Packers. Then we're playing in Philly, so that's outdoors. But and then like Florida, if the Bucs advance, at least you get somewhat decent weather if it's not raining. So if the Packers end up advancing, then you're looking at this high-powered offense in a dome in week 2. So there's a lot of upside if they end up advancing and you happen to have a stack of them, I think.
All right, let's I agree with that thoughts. Let's get the drafting. Let's knock this out. I'm excited. We've talked about it so much. I've had so much. Sorry, my audio is cutting in and out. My apologies. I'm looking forward.
Oh, you still there, Dean?
Oh yeah, I'm still here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, right on. Did you want to pick real quick, like which of these teams matchups do you think is going to win? You like Baltimore over Cleveland?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not gonna argue with that. I think it's most likely that Baltimore wins that game. I'm not gonna give you any sort of hot takes. I think Baltimore likely beats Cleveland. Something goofy probably happens, but I will stick with Baltimore. I will yield to you. If you want to be ambitious, by all means, go for it.
I've been rolling with the Browns in a divisional matchup, but I don't think I had Miami winning, so I have Miami versus Baltimore. I don't have the Browns facing them until the conference championship. But in this scenario that you've built, I kind of like the Browns to beat division opponents, but I can totally see rolling with Baltimore. And Chiefs versus Bills. Who do you prefer in that one? Bills or Chiefs?
I think I'll take the Bills. Yeah.
Rams versus 49ers.
You want the Rams. Take the Rams. I know you want the Rams.
Okay. Bucks versus Cowboys.
I mean, it's probably the Cowboys, but I think the Bucks is more fun.
Yeah, I think just general thinking. I think like Bucks would be a lot more fun. I think the Cowboys handle the Bucks at home though, and then we're looking at number 2 versus number 1, Baltimore, Buffalo. Which of those teams do you like?
Probably Baltimore. I mean, I think Baltimore is most likely.
Baltimore.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time getting outside. I think we're overdrafting Zay a little bit. He's going a little bit high.
He's way high.
Yeah, he's going a little bit high. But like, if people are banking on they're going to be there in the Super Bowl, but you also have to get there.
Yeah. I think,
and the rest of the pieces aren't great.
Strategy-wise, when you're drafting.
Say it again.
Yeah, I think strategy-wise, when you're drafting and you see Zay that high, I think it's better to just hold off and draft Beckham and Likely later on, because I've gotten into that trap and I've drafted Zay and I hate how my teams look. And Zay doesn't even have that much upside, or he has upside, but you look at his recent games, he's not getting that many targets. So I kind of like holding off on drafting Ravens, stackable Ravens until the late rounds. So let's put who do you think, the Rams or Dallas would you like in that game?
Let's say Rams, just because that's who I'm drafting more of.
Yeah, same here. I mean, this is the path that based on what we talked about, we got Baltimore versus the Rams. So I mean, that's an exercise that everybody who's watching can do. The site is profootballnetwork.com. So you can check that site out, and they have like a playoff generator that you can use. But let's move on to, like Dean was saying, let's get into a draft here. I'm going to switch gears. Let's jump into a gauntlet here, Dean. Let's set it up first, and then when I count to 3, we can both jump in.
Oh, we're going to play in the same one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, that's cool. Hold on a second.
Let's see.
Let me get to the lobby. Which one? There's like a $25 gauntlet and there's a $50 gauntlet, right? I think there's. Which one are we jumping in?
I think $25. I was thinking.
Okay, the gauntlet. Yeah. Okay. I think I've had I got like 10 or 15 bullets in here already. Let's do it.
Were you saying the mitten was the one that 3 teams?
Yeah.
You want to do
the I believe is where 3 teams move on. I haven't jumped in. I'm pretty sure. Don't hold me to that. But I think I saw them tweeted about it the other day. I think they said half the teams move on, which is kind of interesting. Different strategy.
Let's do that.
You want to do the mitten?
Let's do that. Yeah, that way we both have a chance of making it through.
All right. So there's no collusion going on.
Yeah. No collusion, I swear. Like me and Dean are going to be trying to take each other's guys.
Are we sure? Are we sure we're not going to get? Well, what if we get in different ones? It's going to be a mess.
Well, I got to do a 3 count, so we click it at the same time, and then usually that works.
Yeah, sometimes though it's like, well, you're the 6th team, and now you started a new group. But okay,
right.
This is the mitten 4.
I think we're good. Yeah. Hey, mitten 4.
Yeah.
Mitten 4. All right, ready?
$5.
In 3, 2, and $5 one. Yep. In 3.
I just clicked
2.
it.
Oh Jesus! All right, just clicked it too. Okay.
we did not coordinate very well.
I got one more to start, so I think we're both in the same one.
Okay, what's your name? What's your official name here?
So, Pumacom.
There you are. Okay, we are in the same one. I got the turn.
All right, good.
I was talking about it before. Very exciting. I got the turn, and you're in the 3 spot. You're on the podium. Okay,
good. So so we're in a good spot. Make sure to use that promo code SEEK, SEEK. I'm going to send you my rankings, and Underdog's going to match you up to $100 on your first deposit on a new account. The guys who've used my rankings so far, the guys who've signed up for Underdog and used my rankings have been very happy. They've ended up with a lot of Rams, a lot of Bills, and a lot of Houston or Browns, because I've been high on all those teams. And we got everything that we needed for that first playoff round, and we got the entire NFC pegged. So based on the matchups in the NFC, we've been doing well there with the rankings so far too. So hit like on the video, get us up to 15 so that I can put out a shorter video later on, and subscribe to the YouTube page. And we're getting into this draft starting now. Dean mentioned earlier, he is on the, let's see, where are you, Dean? What? Oh, Dean.
I'm on the turn. I'm in the 6th spot.
Okay.
So yeah, I might have.
Okay, so I'm up.
Yeah, go ahead. No surprises.
I'm going to go with Josh Allen here.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking Josh Allen on the turn for me, but that throws. I'm surprised you took him over Lamar, but okay. Yeah. Now this is where I don't know what to do here. On the 6th spot, I could take 2 Niners, but I'm already sort of buried if I do that. Let's see if Debo falls to me. I could take Debo and Go ahead.
It's what we've been talking about. I mean, you could also grab Purdy there and have a. Well, I mean, I
Ooh,
don't really see Debo ever falling that far, so that's a great
yeah.
value on
I think I'm
Debo.
taking Debo and Purdy.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Amon-Ra jumped a little bit. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I didn't expect Debo to be there at the 6th spot. So, all right. I don't like, quarterback, I feel like is some value and it's pretty deep. I don't know if you have to draft one early, but, I think there's a certain value, obviously, in San Fran because Purdy is the most likely, one of the most likely guys to be throwing footballs in the Super Bowl. So, and now I put San Fran in my queue. I type in San Fran. Now these guys are all going to probably disappear. I have just disappeared. The only guy I'm hoping falls to me really is Kittle. That's probably not going to happen. I would take Elijah Mitchell too, but this is the problem with the Niners. You can't get 5 Niners. You can't get 4 Niners. Nope. There goes Kittle too. So I just have a 2-man Niner stack, which is annoying. But now I need to work. I got to work through the AFC. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like an idiot, I took Kittle. I thought somebody had taken Diggs already. And so I drafted Kittle. And then I look and I see Diggs sitting right there. I'm like, God damn, I should have freaking I would have drafted Diggs. So now I'm just hoping that he falls to me at this point. I got to make it through 2 more guys. He is, ADP wise, he's the third on the up next chart. So maybe he'll make it back to me. But that was a very distracted move that I did, taking Kittle and thinking that Stephon Diggs was already taken. So now I'm just hoping that he makes it back to me. Someone just took Cook. See, this is where it gets crazy in these mittens, man, because we got guys drafting they're just pulling the trigger at this point. There's no real thinking. Okay, Diggs made it back to me, so I got lucky there. I got Allen, Kittle, and Diggs right now. Dean, what's your thinking for your next pick? You still there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I put myself on mute. My apologies.
Oh, you're
good. Zay Flowers just went. I want to build an AFC team, but I don't, because I have 2 Niners. I want to build somebody from the AFC, but I don't really have anybody I love right now in the AFC. Well, let me see. Is KC here? Can I get Chiefs? Is Pacheco around? He is. Is Kelsey around? He's not. What about Rice? Okay, so I will take Pacheco and Rice if I can get them both. I can't. That's what I'm doing. That's the plan. Unless, what do you think otherwise? Like, what else can I do as far as teams and stuff?
I think that's a good way to go because you had mentioned earlier that you believe that the Chiefs are going to win that first round.
Yeah.
And I think if they're going to win that first round, then Pacheco will be heavily involved in that game.
The problem is now there's no more Chiefs.
And if you're committing,
I mean, nothing I can trust.
Yeah.
There's Watson there, there's MVS there, CEH, nothing else I feel good about, right? I might take as a last round flyer, just add one more just in case they make it to the Super Bowl, but that's the same thing with the Niners. So I have 2 teams where I'm maxed out at 2-8, basically maxed out at 2-2. And I want to have 5 going into the Super Bowl as an optimal ideal scenario. And I don't have that, but maybe we'll start drafting some Bucks if you don't steal them from me.
So I just drafted Puka Nacua.
I love that.
I know I have Kittle already, but this is the problem with drafting, trying to stack those 49ers is you can end up with one piece and then that's all you're going to get. So you got to have another backup team in mind.
That's why I almost don't like drafting
my team that I was looking at is same.
Which sounds
don't like it.
But the idea of having CMC and one other guy and then 3 on the AFC. But it's the way the stacks have worked. I like I said, I like the Tampa Bay guys, I like the Rams, I like the Eagles, and they're all in the NFC. And so I like almost building through Baltimore and then NFC teams as opposed to San Fran and AFC teams. That makes sense.
Yep.
So let's see.
So I'm up here. I'm gonna go with
running back.
I'm going with I need a running back. I like Mostert in that first round.
Over HN?
But I think I'm going to go with Cooper. I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp here. I like both of them, honestly, because I think they're going to lean on that run game in that matchup.
I like HN more personally.
Yeah,
I just feel like
he's
got more upside.
He's got the more
he's healthier
upside. Yeah, Mostert though. It seems like every time Mostert's in the game, though, that they want to lean on Mostert. So I think that this is kind of one of those grinded out games, and I think Mostert is probably better equipped for that. But I do see A-Chain having a big role in the pass game this week, and I think both those running backs are good. You can't really go wrong either way with those guys.
Okay, so I'm taking Evans and White, and I'm taking them kind of early, but you got to kind of make these decisions on the point. Yeah, this is what we're doing. We have 2 San Fran, we have 2 KC, and we have 2 Tampa. I think Godwin makes it back to me. I'm not certain. San Fran is basically dead. Like Elijah Mitchell's still out there, I think. But even though, am I excited about Elijah Mitchell? Not really.
Right. So
Dolphins are easy to get, man. Achane and Waddle are still hanging around in the 30s, and Tua is still out there.
Yeah, they've been dropping really far. I'm grabbing Achane here.
Yeah,
because I obviously need a running back. Yeah. So right now I'm looking at, I got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, George Kittle, Puka, and Cooper. And then I got A-Chain as my running back. So I'm going to need to think a little bit on how I want to handle that running back situation with getting a running back into the Super Bowl. Might have to go with Uncle Lenny, dude, like in round 10.
Lenny over, I guess Lenny's over Murray, I suppose. He's jumped him.
Yeah. I think they're like Murray was inactive this week. I think that they're just he's been used up throughout the season, and I think they're going to. I'm going to draft Cooper here because
I like Cooper too.
Like I said, I like the Browns, and that's a pretty good value on Cooper actually. I got Cooper at pick 39, and his ADP is 26. But he does have that injury concern. But I'm like you said earlier, Dean. I'm not too worried about that just yet.
I'm assuming he'll be okay, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know who to take here. By the way,
Yeah.
I got 2. At some point, I have to draft the quarterback because I have Purdy. I can get any of those guys basically late. I don't know. There's really no 2 players on a team. I guess I probably should add Godwin, right? Is he still available? I think he is.
Yeah.
I probably should have Godwin just in case Tampa makes that run, because then I have White, Evans, Godwin. I can get Baker Mayfield with the last pick, as my opening week quarterback. And by the way, is this 3 of these 6 teams move on, so it's a little bit easier for teams that have Purdy and the teams that have Debo. You're not as constricted, as far as week 1. Best available talent is probably like Devontae Smith or Montgomery, or let's see, is Aaron Jones still out there or no?
He should be. I don't think I've seen him get taken.
I panicked. I took Justin Watson. The clock snuck up on me. I didn't realize I had no time left. I was like, oh no.
Oh man.
Oh no. So we drafted them all. We got Justin Watson.
You got them all. Oh, in a bad weather game, Dean.
You know what? He's going to move on, though, I think.
Yes, that's maybe. Yeah.
Montgomery's still hanging out, by the way. He's just, I know, yeah, he's not the sexy running back in Detroit.
I'm grabbing Gabe Davis. Right. Yeah, I just grabbed Gabe Davis at pick 46. I wanted to get that second Buffalo receiver.
We're in round 9. What about Shakir like in the last rounds?
Yeah, I do like for you. Yeah. I like Shakir, especially if
Gabe is still hurt.
Yeah, if Gabe's going to be out. So I think Shakir is a guy I'm leaning towards, and then it might just. Oh, there's Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is still available.
That's who I was staring at too. Like he's the best guy that just helps you get to the next round. Not as necessary, I don't think, as an a la carte piece when 3 of 6 move on, but still can definitely be useful.
I'm going with Jerome Ford just because I have Amari Cooper. So if it ended up being like Rams, Browns, they don't have a decent amount of players. So I might shit. Somebody took Flacco already. So that's not happening.
Shakir was just taken too.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on Elijah Mitchell and Baker Mayfield. I don't think they get touched. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think Gain is going to leave him alone. Leave him for me. I think I actually like my lineup at least tells a story. So that's something, which is like that's one of the first goals. You want to tell a story. Now, it might not be a true story, but it's a story.
Yeah. So the story that I'm going to tell. Wait, I'm going to wait until after you go first. So
Waddle goes in the 9th round, 53rd
guy.
overall. Like what a value, like potentially.
Yeah, that's a huge value.
Like that's, I mean, it
can. Damn it! Somebody took Elijah Mitchell.
I did. I got my Niners.
Oh, geez, what are you doing, man? You're killing me. Because that was going to be my my missing link with my Bills stack getting a running back into that.
I claimed the
Super
Niners
Bowl
right
round.
out the gate. I took the Niners 1-2, my first 2 picks. They're mine. Stay off my Mitchell.
All right. Yeah. All right.
I wasn't. There was no like
right.
cock blocking of any sort there. That just made the most sense. What if CMC is not fine? By the way, like have we thought about that?
It's true.
I assume he's fine, but what if he's not?
He might not be. I'm gonna go with an upside guy here. Nah, fuck it. I'm gonna take Jones. All right, so I added a third
Aaron Jones
back.
in the last round. Man, that's such a good pick.
Yeah, and I mean, if it ends up being Green Bay in the Super Bowl, then I have my team fielded because I got Allen, Jones, Diggs, Gabe Davis. Khalil Shakir got taken, so I didn't get an opportunity to draft him, but at least I got a decent, team. Not a complete
Rams.
team.
Rams is better, right? If you have Puka, you got Puka, Cup, and the Bills. You're pretty well set. If it's Rams Bills,
but I still have no running back. It's the problem.
Oh,
because somebody took Cook at the 1-2 at the 2-3 turn. Somebody took Cook, so it's just like, come on, man.
I got 3 Niners, Debo, Purdy, Mitchell with my last pick. I believe I have 3 or 4 Chiefs. Hold on, we can look at our teams now, right? If you pull you can get the big picture of the draft. Can't you look at that?
Yeah. We did the mitten, right?
Yeah.
Let me. Oops, blew up my screen. All right, going to the full draft. Let's look at Dean here. All right, go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, I'm looking at your screen and I can't see the whole picture. Unfortunately, I don't know why.
Oh, it's on the right side here. Like,
you gotta do a little scrolling for me. Yeah, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Debo, Purdy, Mitchell, 3 Niners. As far as Chiefs, I got Pacheco and Rice. Just 2 Chiefs, right? I believe it's just 2. And I think I have 3 or 4 Bucks. Let's see. I have Mike Evans. Yeah, because I have Mike Evans.
You got Justin Watson, so you got three Chiefs.
Oh, I forgot about Justin Watson. Might as well be Randy Watson. Sexual chocolate. So it's 4-3-3, right? I have 3 teams, 4-3-3, 4 Bucks, 3 Chiefs, 3 Niners. Most every one of these drafts are going to fail. But as far as like telling the story, I like the story here. I need the Chiefs, obviously. They're my only team in the AFC. I need the Chiefs to get there. And then I have 2 bullets. I got San Fran and I have Tampa. So I have paths.
Yep.
And that's like, you pull up another team, like who just to show like what other people do and not to call anybody out. But like some of these people just like their lineups aren't telling stories. And now I'll say this. I've definitely had drafts where my lineups do not tell a story because it just blows up. And it's like, oh man, every path I choose, once you choose a path, somebody else blocks you. You got okay, now we have to go plan B, now plan C, plan D. And you're stuck now with like no stacks. And it's like, well,
Yep.
this one didn't work out.
Let's
use
Honey Hands here because he had the first overall pick.
Yeah.
And he went off the typical path, and he drafted CeeDee Lamb as a number 1 overall pick. I don't hate CeeDee Lamb as the number 1 overall pick if you think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got like a slew of good matchups potentially in that path. Second, though, he went A.J. Brown in that second round. A.J. Brown is a guy that's been going lately in like maybe the 4th and 5th rounds. So he could have held off on A.J. Brown. But that's a two wide receivers in the NFC is not the best way to build a story. Then he grabbed James Cook with that 3rd pick, and that's what I would have probably targeted Cook, but I don't think that Cook necessarily would have made it back to me at pick 22 because I wanted to hit Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
but he took Cook. So he got an AFC running back against those 2 NFC wide receivers. Then he grabbed Hurts. So he was working towards an Eagles stack at least. So he's got Hurts and Brown running it back with Cook in the Super Bowl. Then he went with Swift. So he's got Hurts, Brown, Swift,
Eagles.
And Cook. Yep. And then he took a Brandon Cooks. So he's building more on that Cowboy stack there. Then he went with Kincaid, so he adds to that Buffalo stack. And then he went Goddard, and then Dowdle with Dallas, and Mark Andrews with Baltimore. So he ended up with a few stacks in this draft. He ended up with an Eagles stack, a Cowboys stack, and then a Bills stack, and then he has Andrews in there as a kind of a lottery pick at the end.
I don't like Andrews as an a la carte piece. I like Andrews as a part of a Baltimore stack. Like picking him a la carte because who knows when or if he's going to play. If he's going to play, most likely he's going to play in the Super Bowl. Okay, that means all the other teams that if the Ravens are in the Super Bowl, you're behind because like everybody's got the Ravens. The Ravens are covered by somebody. So like just having Mark Andrews and nobody else, like congratulations, you made it, but like it's an uphill battle. I like him a part of like Raven stacks. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me having them all on. He was telling a story. He was trying to get Dak, but he got swiped with Dak.
Yeah.
Because I thought Dak might come back to him. He didn't. And then he said, all right, screw it. I guess I'll take Hurts. I think look at that guy in the 5 spots, the interesting one, because there's no story being told here. Amon-Ra, the number 5 pick. Okay. Then he took Dak. Okay, whatever. I don't know why. And then Mahomes. And again, he has 1 pick. His only pick is Amon-Ra. And he's not pairing his receiver. And okay, he's got a Cowboy, he's got a Chief, he's got Amon-Ra, and now let's get Kyron. He's just picking best available. Kyron Williams. Okay, now he's got a Ram. Well, we don't have any Browns. We got to get Njoku. But we got to get a Dolphin. We haven't picked a Dolphin yet. Let's pick a Dolphin. We got Mostert. Again, I'm not picking on the guy, but like there's clear. Like this has no. I don't want to say a team has no chance. This team has no chance. It's got no chance. None. Now it might sneak out of the first round. Congratulations.
Yeah, not in the Super Bowl.
It's got no chance.
I mean, it's built to make it past the first round, but after that, you're gonna be struggling. And that's that's an important thing because a lot of people this could be his first draft. And he doesn't he's not really thinking about the strategy of getting a full team to the Super Bowl or whatever. But that's why we put out this content, Dean, like so that we can show people what you want to be thinking in these shows and kind of strategizing while you're drafting your team, trying to get that full team through to the Super Bowl. Quarterback, running back, 2 wide receiver, tight ends, and a flex is what you want to get through. And you want to try to put in as many different combinations that can get you that full complement of players. Maybe you're drafting, like an NFC passing game and you draft a couple AFC running games, or maybe you just kind of mix and match quarterback and a running back with different variations of passing games of the opposite conference and stuff like that. There's all sorts of ways to, build these teams to give yourself, plenty of chances of making a Super Bowl while constructing teams that are going to be live in that Super Bowl. So important thing to keep in mind when you're doing these drafts.
Do you like drafting with somebody like that, or no? Because I think like sometimes they just make mistakes that help you. And sometimes they're just sniping players that are not going to help them and screw you over at the same time. They're not trying to screw you over. They just don't realize what they're doing. Because I'm guessing they don't realize what they're doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't do what they're doing. But yeah, it's there's kind of a give and take because it sort of implodes. It hurts everybody sort of sometimes.
Yeah, it does, especially when a guy that you need in your stack gets taken. Like, I don't think it was a bad pick to pick Cook for this guy.
Yeah,
but when he picked Cook, like for me, that just kind of set me behind on my running back, because then at that point, like realization kicks in that, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to field a running back on my Super Bowl team now, because I wasn't going to stack the Dolphins. The only hope was for the Browns, but somebody took Flacco at pick 40, so that kind of took that opportunity away there. But he needed a second quarterback because he picked Lamar in that first round, so it made sense for him to kind of choose the highest upside quarterback available. So I mean, yeah, it's tough to put together these complete teams, but it's a fun game to try. And at $5 for an entry in the mitten, you just
chip in a chair, man.
Like a bunch of them. And if you use that promo, go ahead, Dean.
I was just saying, chip in a chair. You get some bullets. It doesn't take much. You have hope. You got one chip in it. You got $5. And have a little bit of fun. Sure, why not? You're probably going to lose, but it's entertainment, right? I was just thinking. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was thinking.
You're good.
I'm liking in this scenario. Like, we're not working together. We're not working as a group, but it's almost like we're kind of like all at the blackjack table. And the guy that goes AWOL is like the guy who's on the point, who's like hitting on 17 against a 6. It's just like, the guy who drafts like, the random dolphin for no reason. That doesn't make any sense. That's the guy hitting, verse to 16 with sitting there with the 17. It's like, dude, what are you doing? And then you only recognize it when it hurts you, right? But sometimes that guy actually helps you out. Nobody ever likes to give that guy credit, for the record, for being an idiot, and it works out. It's like, oh wow, you didn't take the bus card. Good job. You saved us, actually. Well, that's sort of how I feel about this with drafting. We're all kind of drafting as not as a team, like you know what I mean. We're all doing our own thing, but like, stay out of my lane, I'll stay out of your lane. That's it. Truce.
That's right. Well, the worst is when you jump into a draft right after that, thinking, I gotta get this stank off me from this this bad drafter, and then he's in that next draft with you, and then it's just like you're trying to get away from the poker table, but the shitty poker player or the blackjack player keeps jumping into he won't go away from the table, so then you got to walk away from the table for a little bit and hope he just like washes out or something.
Then they bring in the ringer dealer, like who took all your money from the table a couple tables ago. It's like, oh, this guy again.
Yep, exactly.
This was fun. I'm looking forward to drafting all throughout the week. I think
a busy week.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, and I think there's the edges. As much as I'm complaining about it, as much as we complain about it, as far as how annoying it is, people don't really follow the rules, right? Of like, you should be telling stories. But I think there is an edge in that. I don't know what the number is, 20, 25%, 20, 30% of teams that are just dead, basically dead before the thing even starts.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of my teams are going to die, but they're not dead yet. They're certainly going to die. Just because that's how math works. But yeah.
If you're gonna die, at least put up a fight. Like if you know your team's dead. Like if you've drafted a like a team heavy on like the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's basically dead. At least you put up a fight.
At least get 5 Steelers, or just commit yourself to four Steelers or whatever it is.
Right.
Nobody's drafting Steelers, and like Deontay Johnson and Harris and those guys. Like I'm going to draft. I think I'm going to draft one where I get like 7, 8, 9. I'm not going to stoop and draft Mason Rudolph. I don't think. I can't imagine.
Right.
But like there is a chance. But he is going to face somebody in the Super Bowl if he gets there, and their quarterback probably does better.
Yeah,
probably. And he'll be owned, whoever that quarterback happens to be, most likely. But I haven't gotten to the point yet where I've said screw it, give me Steelers, but I might. We'll see. You know, one of these drafts, I'll pick one and I'll send you the DM and say, look at this dead team, and then I'll a month later, like, can you believe this team is alive? What? Yeah. So it's coming. This was fun though.
Well, one thing I'll say, dude, it's been the year of the underdog, and it's been the year of the backup quarterback. And you got Joe Flacco, Mason Rudolph still alive as far as backup quarterbacks. I think that's pretty much it for these backup quarterbacks. And anything can happen, and we've seen it throughout the entire season. A lot of these game script shows that I do where I break down the showdown matchups, I've been taking the dogs, and it's been working out because they just keep winning. Like we keep getting these dogs that are outperforming, and these backup quarterbacks, if you target them in the right spots, they outperform. And I think Joe Flacco is in the right spot in these playoffs, and I would not be surprised to see the Browns make a run this year. But Dean, do you have any final thoughts and where the audience can find your content?
Yeah, I would also say, like, on top of that, the year of the backup quarterback, just the year of parity. Like, a lot of these teams are very similar. A lot of these things, again, I recognize that San Fran and Baltimore are the elite teams that we're going to power rank, but I really don't think there's like this massive difference from like the third best team to the 8th best team in the AFC or whatever it is, however you want to do it. Find my content on the Twitter, on the X, at DFS_almanac. Wednesday night, tomorrow night. Well, I guess I don't know when you're dropping this. I assume this comes out immediately. But myself, John Daigle, Rich Rebar, all season long. The Pick Six show on RotoGrinders. Those two, as far as talks about getting your hand in the dirt, those guys are spectacular. I'm happy to be the least sharp person in the room when the three of us are talking. I just kind of kick back and ask them questions and take notes. And we're going to be digging into the playoffs from a DFS perspective. I'm sure, who knows, best ball conversation might come up. The player prop stuff always comes up as well too. But do check out that show Wednesday nights. I think we're doing that for at least one, if not two, of the weeks of the playoffs. Basketball, talking some basketball, talking everything year round at RotoGrinders, Grinders Live. Check out RotoGrinders on the YouTube today in an hour. I got a basketball show talking. We're well into the basketball season, grinding away, and then baseball, of course, not too far, 80 days away, give or take. The Dodgers have not won the World Series just yet. No truth to that rumor, but they're doing their best to position themselves to do so. But dude, it was a lot of fun, Simon. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. Happy to talk best ball. My apologies if I'm a little bit long-winded. I tend to yammer. We go long because that's just the way I'm used to hosting, right? So I typically host like 99% of the shows I'm on. So I just get excited at the you want me in your show and I can just like be a guest and just hang out and just I don't have to worry about not that like it's things to worry. You know what I mean? It's a different thing when you're the guest as far as hosting, but it's just fun to kind of kick back and just it's not on me to steer the ship. If it's a disaster, it's not my fault. I'm not the captain. But dude, I enjoyed it. Hopefully both of us will get out of our little draft there. But I'm excited for best ball season as well. So there you go, man. I'm looking forward to it. I didn't think I would like it, but I do. So, I dip my toe in and I'm probably going to fully jump in as the week progresses.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You'll be heavily drafting these teams. I guarantee it. And Dean, a guy that is a night owl staying up till 4 a.m. is going to be like in those best ball streets late night. So if you're drafting late night, you might see him in there. And make sure to hit like on the video. Looking for 15 likes, as I said. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I need 30 more till I hit that 400 number. I know the D-Knights in the audience are going to hit that subscribe button, get me over that hump. And Sign up for Underdog using the promo code SEEK, SEEK, and they're going to match you up to $100 on your first deposit. And then hit me up on Twitter at Pumacom. Send me a DM. My DMs are open, and I will send you my ranks. Like I just thought of a slide-in reference there, Dean. Like, but it's made me laugh for some reason.
So, I will say, Dean, like, yeah, let's let it sit there.
I will say, Dean, with that show that you mentioned that you do with Rich Rebar. Rich Rebar is a guy that I frequently cite on my game script shows with the stats that he throws out there on Sharp Football analysis, and he gives some great articles there. So make sure to check out that show that he does with Dean, especially in these playoffs, because he does a really good job from an analytical perspective of breaking down these matchups. And I use cite him a lot on my game script shows, so definitely check that show out.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm very lucky to do a show with both those guys, Rebar and Daigle. They bring it every single week, and then sometimes you'll hear these stats, and like you say, Rebar comes up with these stats, and like everybody's digging in and looking into the same stuff, and Rebar just comes up with these like, well, nobody else said that, but that's really interesting. Like, how did he find that nobody else did? But yeah, certainly, I'm sure the people, I would imagine most everybody listens to this is aware of Rich, but if you're not following Rich and Daigle for that matter, by all means follow those guys as well. Looking forward to talking a little bit of ball on Wednesday nights. And like the shorter the slate, the more those edges matter, the more like the little things could be the difference, right? As far as winning and as far as losing. And I imagine they're going to be finding some stuff for us. 6 games this weekend. And then, only 15 games left in the NFL. Is that about right? Not a lot. And then we can start talking some XFL, arena football. I don't know.
the beauty of the NFL, man, is it's year round now. So I'm sure we'll be diving into these. Yeah,
I don't know
the big boards.
I'm told they want to tell us it's a year round sport, but I don't know if that's true necessarily. But dude, it was fun. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Dean. Well, thanks for jumping on. Check out that show on RotoGrinders. You can find their YouTube page, and Pick 6 is the name of the show. And I will see you guys a little bit later on. I'll probably record a show either tomorrow or Friday. I'll try to get spread on the show. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching.